Okay, so today we're going to dig into a story that's been, well, deliberately buried. It's a piece of history hidden in plain sight, right underneath one of the most famous dates in the entire ancient world.
So let me ask you, what's the most important thing that happened on the Ides of March? I bet your mind jumps straight to one thing, right? A bloody toga, a bunch of senators, and the super dramatic assassination of Julius Caesar. And look, you're not wrong. But what if I told you that for the common people of Rome, something far, far more important was happening that day?
You see, before the Ides of March was all about the death of a dictator, it was actually a massive, citywide party. It was the People's New Year, a celebration of life and renewal. And at the very heart of that celebration was a goddess that history tried really, really hard to make us forget.
So today, we're uncovering the story of this goddess, Anna Perenna. She was the defiant face of Rome's working class, and, get this, a symbol of divine liberation.
So let's start by painting a picture. What did this day actually look like before it got taken over by all that elite political drama?
The contrast here is just, wow, it's incredible. Forget all that solemn historical stuff. This was a rowdy grassroots festival. I mean, people would pour out of the city, camp out in the fields, and, according to the poet Ovid, they'd drink a cup of wine for every single year they hoped to live. This wasn't about some single, frozen moment in time. It was about honoring the eternal, ever-turning cycle of the year.
But where did this goddess of the people even come from? Well, to understand that, we have to go back even further, to a moment of intense class warfare that almost tore Rome completely apart.
This was such a pivotal moment. The plebeians, we're talking the entire working class of Rome, had been pushed to their absolute limit. So they did something extraordinary. They just walked out. They left the city, occupied the sacred Aventine Hill, and refused to work, fight, or do anything for Roman society until their demands for basic legal rights were met.
And this is where a humble hero emerges. As the patricians tried to starve out the protesters, an old woman named Anna started baking and handing out these simple little libum cakes. And that simple act of kindness completely transformed her. She went from being just a provider to a symbol of mutual aid, this powerful idea that the community could actually sustain itself. And from there, the people lifted her up into something more, a goddess, a divine protector for their rebellion.
So here's the crucial point. Her cakes weren't just about charity. No way. They were an act of defiance. They were the bread of the Aventine, a political tool that literally allowed the Roman working class to hold the line and win their very first legal rights.
Now, this rebellion wasn't just about food and laws. It was also about something, way more fundamental, the control of time itself.
So on one hand, you had the official patrician calendar. It was solar, super rigid, and controlled by the state priests, basically a way to impose order and control on everyone. But the people, aligned with Anna Perenna, they followed a totally different clock, the lunar cycle. It was fluid, natural, and accessible to anyone who just look up at the sky. It was a kind of subversive, rebel timekeeping.
This idea is baked right into her name. Anna Perenna basically means the eternal year, or the year that renews. It's tied directly to the moon's endless cycle of, death and rebirth. For a people facing oppression, this was an incredibly powerful symbol, a reminder that even in the darkest times, renewal is always on its way, that hope can't be extinguished.
Now, this might all sound like beautiful mythology, but there's actually hard physical evidence that proves Anna Perenna was a hub for some seriously revolutionary activity. So, back in 1999, archaeologists excavating a fountain in Rome just stumbled upon her sacred grove. And what they found there wasn't just, offerings of flowers and coins. No, it was explosive. They unearthed dozens of these lead curse tablets where the poor, the enslaved, and the marginalized sought justice against their masters and oppressors outside the official legal system. This grove was what we might today call a temporary autonomous zone. It was a space where Rome's rigid social hierarchies were completely flipped upside down. Here, slaves and free citizens could party together as equals. This sacred space, it became a sanctuary. The goddess of the eternal cycle became the keeper of secrets, the witness to the prayers and the rage of all those people who had no voice in the Roman Republic. Which brings us to the final and maybe the most important part of this story. We have this powerful goddess, a grassroots movement, and a successful uprising. So why on earth have most of us never heard of her? Let's just be absolutely crystal clear about this. The plebeian secession, fueled by that spirit of mutual aid symbolized by Anna Perenna, it worked. The protesters won. They secured their first ever legal rights and fundamentally changed Roman society.
This is the central mystery, isn't it? Why would you bury the story of a successful popular uprising? Why erase the memory of its divine protector?
Well, the answer is pretty simple. It wasn't an accident. Forgetting Anna Perenna was a political act. The ruling class had a huge interest in erasing the memory of a time when ordinary people organized, resisted, and won. A story like that is frankly dangerous to those in power. And so we end with this question. Reclaiming the story of Anna Perenna isn't just about ancient history. It's about remembering that systems of power are not permanent. It's a reminder of that eternal cycle, that change is constant, and the resilience of ordinary people, whether in ancient Rome or today, is a force that can and absolutely does change the world. What happens when we remember that?